When hope is gone, undo this lock and send me forth on a moonlit walk. Release restraint level 0. Hey kids, wanna see a dead body?
Hey guys, this is the Void of the Ravenclaw. Welcome back to another fanfiction story. If you like this type of content, smash the like button and subscribe for future updates that I do post on my community tab frequently. Now let's continue where we last left off in our story. Deku left his lab, Lady Nagant right behind him. I was curious, why didn't you have this conversation back at the bar? I might be part of the League of Villains, but that doesn't mean I trust them. There's only 2 people I trust, and they're both members of the Vanguard Action Squad. I'm their 3rd member. They should have more. They've been recruiting recently. You don't trust them then? Why did you even join the League? Because they recruited the Vanguard Action Squad. As a member, I'm just following the boss's lead. I might call Shigaraki boss, but in truth, I only have one boss, and my boss is a she. You probably haven't met her yet. It's only a matter of time, though. You're quite an interesting villain. You may be crazy and clearly unstable, but you don't allow it to jeopardize your actions. I have no doubt you have a master plan, like all villains do. That I do, but it's far from being achieved. And I highly doubt you're going to tell me. Of course, I have no plans to tell you. I'm not a fool. I know you don't trust me. I don't trust you either. But who knows? We might come to a common understanding in the future. And I highly doubt you like what I have planned. So, who are we killing first? One of my old bosses. He would be the easiest one to track down and kill if he hasn't changed his daily habits. He should be at the local park near the headquarters of the safety committee. That old fossil likes to feed the ducks there. This will probably be the easiest one of the members of the board of the safety committee. He was only one that spoke against targeting normal civilians, but unfortunately he got outvoted. But he was still part of those bastards that betrayed me and framed me for a crime that I didn't commit. I was fully prepared to pay for my crimes that I have committed, but instead of that, they made up some bullshit charge. I'm surprised they didn't outright kill me. The old man probably had something to do with that. But regardless, he still has to die. They're all equally guilty. They've done some pretty twisted shit. He's just the less evil of them. Deku remained quiet, following Lady Nagant to the deserted park. As they approach an old man on a bench, throwing pieces of bread for the ducks to eat. Lady Nagant sat down right next to the old man while Deku leaned against the tree. You look well, Lady Nagant. No thanks to you and the rest of the bastards of the members of the safety committee. I know you're angry. You have every right to be. I had no choice. I was voted. I was voted. I was outvoted, and they threatened to kill my family. And you know they would. They would not even hesitate. I have a granddaughter and a daughter to look after all. For what it's worth, I am sorry. Me too. Are you going to kill me? Yes. I see. The old man closed his eyes, accepting his fate. Lady Nagat took out her knife that's attached to her leg and rammed it into the old man's throat, as blood splattered all over the side of her cheek, of her face, as she pulled out the knife and stabbed the man in the heart, while sitting right next to him. She calmly got up and wiped the blood from her knife using the old man's clothes, and calmly put the knife back into the holster that's attached to her leg, and approached Deku. Let's go. I'm done here. We need to take a pit stop before we head back to the lab. Lead the way, Deku. Deku stopped by a flower shop, confusing Lady Nagant. When they left the flower shop, Lady Nagant gave Deku curious looks. Lady Nagant kept silent and followed him until they enter a graveyard, stopping in front of two tombstones. Deku replaced the old flowers with new ones and began to clean the tombstones, or the two little shrines. When Deku was done, he placed a hand over his mother's grave. I take it you knew them? That I did. They were my parents. They were both victims of fights between heroes and villains. I hold no ill will towards the hero and villain that got my mom caught up into their fight. I've done a bit of research on my mother's death, and father, of course. I might not hold any ill will towards them. They're still gonna die. I cannot allow that reckless behavior that caused my mother's death to be unpunished. People are too obsessed with quirks. Look at our society. The weak and fragile are preyed upon, and the rare, lucky few gifted are praised and treated like God in human form. This society is twisted and broken. As long as quirks exist, this will continue to be a hell on earth. I completely understand your feelings, but you can't really wage war on quirks itself. That's where you're wrong. I found a way where we can cleanse the human species to be pure again. Who are worthy of their gifts will live. The rest will be cleansed. Lady Nagant's eyes widen at the implication that Deku is describing. I've already told you too much. Let's head back to the lab so we could discuss your living arrangements. I highly doubt you would want to stay with the League of Villains. Lady Nagant kept her comments to herself, that she just heard from Deku. As she responded to Deku, that would be most appreciated. That bar gives me the willies. The bar is kind of creepy. They finally managed to make their way back to the lab. Deku tossed Lady Nagant a pair of keys as she caught it in her hands. Those are keys to your new apartment. It's one of my many safe houses that I have around Japan. It's not too far away from here. I'll show you to the apartment. Don't worry, all the bills are paid automatically. Monthly. Whoever said crime pays was an idiot. It pays extremely well. Once they got to the apartment, Deku showed her around. Feel free to decorate it how you want. As he tossed her an envelope filled with money, she caught it in her eyes and saw the large bills inside. Wait, this is money. The league might not pay their members, but as long as we're a team, you're not working for free. Wait, do you mean work for you? No, work with me. If this is going to work between us, it's going to be 50-50 partnership. I'm not interested in having a follower, lackey, goon. I'm not in the business of hiring henchmen. Or henchwomen, in your case. Lady Nagant gave the kid a brief smile and bowed to him and thanked him. I might have said I don't trust you, Lady Nagant, but that doesn't mean I don't like you. Maybe one day we could even become friends. I'll leave the rest up to you. You probably shouldn't have ventured outside of the apartment too much. It's only a matter of time before the safety committee is forced to release the information that Tartarus was broken into, if they haven't heard already. Knowing those bastards, they'll probably keep it quiet for a little bit, or try their best to hide the information. I'll come by in a couple days to see how you're doing. The league doesn't contact me beforehand. If you need me, I'll be back at my lab. Deku left the apartment and headed back to his lab to begin continuing his work. He started to work on the super strength serum once again, using his own quirk because his quirk was combined with a super strength quirk, along with his guinea pig in the laboratory that he captured before he joined the League of Villains. He finally had a breakthrough a couple weeks ago. He just tweaked the formula by... He just tweaked the formula. By doing so, he learned something else was added with his quirk. After studying it, he found out it was an explosion. Technically a bomb, integrated with his quirk. Deku stood up from the calendar that's in his lab and paced back and forth with his finger under his chin, thinking. He had a feeling All For One did something to his quirk when he combined it with the super strength quirk. Deku immediately went to work trying to find a way to disable it from his genetic genes, or his quirk gene, or remove it altogether. He's gonna have to put his core killer virus on further hold. This needs his immediate attention. He doesn't like the fact of having a bomb that could be detonated by a single command by All For One. Pretty sly of you, All For One. I can't be too mad at you. I would do the same if I were in your shoes, but I'm going to have to kill you for that. But for now, I'll play like I'm unaware. And when you least suspect it, I will end you. I gotta play this carefully. I can't allow them to get suspicious. I must not show any hint of urges to betray them. I will continue to play ball until the opportunity presents itself to me. It's getting pretty late. I probably should call Toga. Deku called Toga. It only rang once. Toga immediately picked up. Is everything alright? Everything's fine, dear. I didn't want to miss our annual call. I heard from Dobby that you haven't been at the bar recently. I've been at the lab working on a couple of projects. I just wanted to hear your voice before I go to bed. Have you been eating? Yes, I have. That's good, because if you weren't, I would have to go down there and force feed you some food. The scary thing, I know you would do it. Damn right I would. How's been things going on with your teammate, Lady Nagant? Pretty well. We've been on a few missions together, and a couple assassinations. Bobby did mention you were going after the higher-ups of the safety committee. And the deaths of the members of the board have been all over the news. Fortunate for now, they haven't had a description of the assassin. There's a lot of speculation and theory going around school, but the police department doesn't have any concrete evidence of your identity and your teammate. I highly doubt that will remain the same moving forward when we kill some more members of the safety committee. Head honchos, as you elegantly described them. The first two were easy. I still can't believe you. Were you responsible for the second hit? Yes, I was. I still can't believe you walked into a church and killed that bitch without no one even noticing. Seen her on the news before. She's a piece of work. Flashback: a few days after he left Lady Nagant in one of his safe house, Deku was wearing a priest's outfit as he walked into the confession booth. Speak your confession, my child. Deku could hear a middle-aged woman confess her sins. After getting the confirmation, that's his target, from the communicator in his ear. Hearing Lady Nagant's voice. I must confess my sins as well, my child. Confusing the old middle-aged woman. I'm no priest. Lady Nagant sends her regards. Without even hesitating, he shot the woman several times in the skull, killing her, as he put the pistol back into the holster underneath his shirt, underneath the priest's suit, and walked out of the confession booth, and walked right out of the church with no one the wiser. End of flashback. You got a spill. How did you do it? Well, I killed one of the priests of the Catholic Church in the area, and stole his clothes, and disguised myself as a priest, and killed her while she's in the confession booth. After all, who would expect a harmless priest? The worst, as Toga burst out laughing, just picturing Deku wearing a priest outfit. Before I forget, the word around campus that Class 1A will be attending this year's sports festival. Now that's a bit of interesting information. When is this sports festival supposed to happen anyways? I might attend this year. They haven't announced the date yet. I'll let you know when they do. Kinda wish you were here, but a girl needs her beauty sleep. Good night, Deku-kun. Call me tomorrow like usual. Good night, my crazy blonde vixen. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Deku hanged up the phone and walked into the extra room in the laboratory. As you see, a bed and a nightstand mirror and a couple of other items that you would find in a bedroom. As she shut the lights off and turned in for the night. The next day, after visiting Lady Nagant, he returned back to his lab to begin trying to find a way to deactivate the explosion or the bomb that's integrated with his quirk. He got a surprise visit from Dobby. Only three people have knowledge of his laboratory location: Toga, Dobby, and Lady Nagant. Easily move his laboratory if he gets compromised. So that's why he didn't really care too much about letting Lady Nagant know where his lab is. There you are. What can I do for you, Dobby? I was just checking on you. What have you been up to? And what's so important that you're working on that you haven't been to the bar for a couple weeks now? Trying to get rid of a explosion that was integrated with my quirk, that All For One graciously gifted me. Wait, you're not joking, are you? Sadly, no. I figured he would pull something. You know the Buckethead doesn't trust us. It's probably a safety measure just in case we betray him. That bastard. What do you plan to do? Either figure a way how to deactivate it or remove it entirely. Then buy my time until the right moment. Then I'll kill the bastard. Don't worry. I won't do anything anytime soon. He'll betray us before that. Agreed. The League has some decent members in their roster, but this All For One is very unnerving. And I've seen his kind before. And they always betray their allies at the end of the day. As if I'd like a few members, I don't trust them. We might have to come up with a exit strategy, just in case. I'm going to need your help with that, as this All For One is a dangerous man. And God knows how many resources he has at his fingertips. Agreed. I have a meeting with the doctor. I believe his name is Dr. Ojiko. He's responsible for those Nomu creatures. What are you plotting? I need to gain the doctor's trust. I need to know more about these Nomus. I have no doubt these abominations have some sort of part to play in the grand scheme of things. This All For One is the scheming type. Just be careful. I heard he is pretty unstable. At least that's what I keep hearing from Shigaraki. Shigaraki is terrified of the doctor. Shigaraki has mentioned him a couple times to me before. I'll keep that in mind. Enough about that. He gave Dobby a small smile. I finally completed it. Completed what, Deku? My super strength serum. About it, are you interested in a little upgrade? Dobby had a devilish grin on her face as she sat down and put her arm on the table. Damn straight. Just be warned, this hasn't been fully tested. It won't be a permanent. It will last for you about 48 hours. Contact me if you feel something strange or wrong. I have complete faith in your capabilities, Deku. Deku took out an injector and loaded up with a strange-looking fluid that was half black and half silver. As he placed the injector over Dobby's skin and injected the serum into her body, Dobby couldn't feel anything at first, but a few seconds later, she felt power coursing through her entire body. It's still a prototype. I still need to tweak a few things when it comes to the formula. I suggest you test out your temporary new strength. Once I perfect my formula, I'll give you a permanent boost. This is awesome. I'm definitely going to do that. I'll keep you updated. As Dobby left the lab immediately afterwards to test out her new strength. Dobby didn't mind it was temporary. If she knows Deku, he's already mass producing the serum. So there's most likely more. Deku made his way to one of the Nomu factories that he was instructed to visit to help Dr. Ojiko as a lab assistant. The moment he entered the laboratory, or entered, the Nomu factory, Dr. Ojiko was there to greet him. We finally meet, young man. I am Dr. Ojiko. I've been waiting to meet you for quite some time now. Ever since I found out your existence, I was lucky enough to come across one of your support gears that you designed for one of your fellow villains that sadly passed away. Most impressive work. I'll show you around the lab. Deku followed the strange doctor around the lab. They immediately went to work, Deku paying close attention to the process of creating Nomus under Dr. Ojiko's tutelage. So, several weeks has passed as you see Deku in the crowd at the sports festival as they're currently in the mock battles. A few matches has already happened. As the match begins, the first match Deku saw, at first he was extremely excited until that excitement turned to boredom, watching a sorry excuse for a match. Looks like to Deku that they didn't even bother training, just throwing their fists around wildly, and using their quirks without even using them as a purpose. It was just pathetic to watch. Suddenly, time seems to freeze all around them, as the arena of the sports festival turned to pitch black. As the darkness enveloped Deku, as Deku can't see anything until he sees two glowing eyes with a massive grin on the creature, well, the person in the darkness with sharp teeth. That was pretty sad display. Wasn't it human? He got up and got in a aggressive fighting stance, getting a good look at the person that just spoke to him. That's something like you would see straight out of a nightmare. What are you? As the creepy entity just laughed, making Deku very unnerving, only giving Deku a splitting grin on his face after he was done laughing. Fine, who are you then? I've been called many names, mortal. You may refer me as Infinite X, for now. And for what I am, I'm a god, evil god. At least that's what everyone refers me as. It's not my fault the other gods don't know how to take a joke. So what, I genocide a few planets now and then. It was entertaining, at least for me. Out of all the mortals I've seen, I took a liking to you, Deku. And your master plan to wipe out majority of life on this little nest of a planet is intriguing. And I like the idea of that nasty little virus you've been trying to create. That's what caught my interest at first. But the more I watch over you, the more I came intrigued. I have very big plans for you, little mortal. Infinite X moved so fast that Deku couldn't keep track, as a black tendril pierced right into Deku's chest, as the evil god pulled out something out of his body. It's a glowing orb that seemed to pulse ever so slightly. As a evil god entity got it, the tentacle put in his hand and crushed it. What did you do? It's quite simple, mortal. You've been very entertaining, so that's what I just ripped out of your body, was that nasty little bomb that was placed into your powers. No, fool, I know you didn't do that the goodness of your heart. What are you after? What's your end game in this? I don't trust you. You're clearly an evil entity. You have a ploy about it. I said you must have an end game. A scheme. Of course I do. I always do. Those foolish other gods have started to become too boring for my liking. Things will become clear in the future. I can't wait to see what you do next. You're my favorite type of mortal. Bring death, chaos to this world. I wouldn't mind. As the entity known as Net X started to disappear, that's when the darkness receded. Time started to resume. Oh, and before I forget, I left you a little present. That will be most useful in the future. I'll be watching, human. Don't disappoint. You could hear the echoes of laughter from the evil entity in his head. As it finally faded away, as Deku was breathing heavy, it didn't take long to start the next match. When time resumed, as a boy around Deku's age, with spiky red hair with sharp teeth, entered the arena. His opponent, Deku knows very well, the twin sister of the loudmouth Katsuki Bakugo, as Katsuki Bakugo entered the ring with a blank expression on her face. Unlike her brother, she has honed her emotions into a fine-tuned weapon, like a scalpel. Hiroshima is laughing nervously. He's fully aware how brutal Asuki is. She might be less angry than her twin brother, but she's the most brutal of the twins, and he fears the chick for good reason. Please be gently and not the face. We'll see about that, Kirishima. Try to keep this interesting for me at least. The moment midnight started the match, Katsuki charged Kirishima, forcing the guy to try to dodge out of the way of Katsuki's strikes. Unfortunately for Kirishima, Katsuki caught on and started to use her feet and end her attack by slamming a small explosion into Kirishima's stomach as he goes skidding across the ring. As you can see the smoke coming from her palms, from her explosion and her palm strike. Unlike her brother, she has superior control over her explosions. If it wasn't for Kirishima's fast thinking activating his hardening quirk at the last moment, that explosion palm strike would have hurt like a bitch. Kirishima Kirishima did recover and charge forward, with his quirk fully activated. Kazuki used her explosions to dodge and weave around Kirishima, blasting several explosions into Kirishima's back. Kazuki is trying to find a weak point. She refused to believe that he has ultimate defense with his quirk activated. She won't accept it. Her pride won't allow it. She might not be as bad as her brother, but she still has some pride in her, but to a lesser degree than her hothead of a brother. Got stronger, Kazuki. Most impressive. I hate to admit it, but she has got quite powerful. She's been most impressive. That should be expected. She's on top of the class, according to what I've been hearing around campus. As Toga sat down right next to Deku in her disguise. It's really good to see you. Here's all the information I gathered so far. Their names of the students and the names of their quirks, as you requested. Thanks. Shigaraki wanted a list of students and their abilities. For possible targets or recruits. It's hard to tell with that guy. That's above my pay grade. Did you bring it? That I did. As Deku handed over several blood bags over to Toga, and she quickly put it in her book bag. Deku's been delivering her blood to her so she can keep her disguise going on, so no one gets suspicious when she leaves at certain times and days. I found something interesting last night about my quirk. That got Deku's attention. Deku looked at Toga in her disguise with a curious expression on his face as he raised his eyebrow at Toga. I don't know how it happened. Maybe it's because I've been having my quirk active for so long, periods of time. I found out whoever I change into by drinking their blood. I have access to their quirk. I just been too busy. I kind of forgot about it. It's been making my job a whole lot easier. As she whispers that in his ear, so no one could overhear their conversation. Well, isn't that interesting? I'll have to take a look at your quirk back at the lab. When you have a free moment. We could get more information about your secondary ability of your quirk. Most interesting. Shouldn't expect anything less from my favorite vixen. Toga gave Deku a smirk and gave him a small peck on the cheeks as they turned their attention back to the match. Kirishima was managed to dodge out of the way of another explosion from Kazuki and managed to grab her wrists and throw her over his shoulder right into the tile ground of the arena. Kazuki rolled out of the way and blasted backwards to get some distance away from the blockhead. Kazuki wasn't sure how strong Kirishima's hardening quirk can get, so to be safe, she ran forward and unleashed a more powerful explosion. Not her most powerful, but powerful enough to do some serious damage. Kirishima had enough time to cross his arms in an X to brace for the large explosion heading his way. When the smoke cleared, you can see Kirishima flakes of rock dropping off his body, breathing heavy. Consider me impressed that you're still managed to stand on your feet after my attack. You're not pulling your punches, are you? Of course not. If I use my full extent of my explosion quirk, you wouldn't be standing here. Well, pieces of you would. I guess that's a silver lining. But it still doesn't make me feel any better. Enough Enough talking. I've dragged this out for far too long. Prepare yourself. You might be a fellow classmate, but I won't be holding back anymore. Hope you're good at dodging. Shit. As Kirishima was forced to dodge large explosions being directed his way, while Kazuki is laughing, has a massive smirk on her face as she's blasting explosions. Like she's having a grand old time. Like she's having the time of her life. Kirishima couldn't help but feel sorry for the poor soul that ever marries Kazuki in the future. The girl is terrifying. Kirishima is totally frightened or terrified of the girl to no end. Kazuki got enough. Kazuki had enough and got into her fighting stance and utilized her palm strikes in combination with her quirk. With fast, devastating palm strikes and kicks. Kirishima knows the likelihood of him winning against Kazuki is slim to none, but regardless of that, he charged nevertheless. He swung his fist, trying to hit Kazuki, but Kazuki simply slapped his fist away and landed a powerful palm strike into his chest, making Kirishima slide backwards. But Kazuki was not having none of that. She was far from done, so she proceeded to charge forward, landing several smaller explosion palm strikes, followed up with a spin kick to the side of Kirishima's head, making Kirishima unbalanced and dazed from being hit aside of the face. Kazuki capitalized and shot out a large explosion with both of her hands into Kirishima's chest, making him go flying out of the ring, making Kazuki the winner of the match. Deku continued to watch the match one after another, analyzing the quirks that managed to catch his interest. Sometime during the matches, Toga had to take her leave. Before she left, she kissed Deku on the lips and took her leave to do some more socializing. After all, she's still trying to keep her cover intact. Eventually, the fight between Bakugo and Shoto Todoroki, being the son of a Dever. Sadly, Todoroki fought as hard as he could, but for some reason, he refused to use his fire side. Ultimately, he was defeated by Bakugo. The sports festival continued. The last match was brother versus sister. The match did not last very long. Katsuki Bakugo was ultimately defeated by his older sister. She had better control over her quirk, and she has superior hand-to-hand combat, unlike her brother, that's just a brawler, with no technique, no training. He was easily outclassed by his older sister by a couple seconds. She was born a couple seconds before Bakugo. Deku was highly disappointed from his ex-friend's performance. When the sports festival concluded, he made his way out of the sports festival, heading back to his laboratory, and that's where we're going to stop it for right now. Hope you guys have a good night and day, and judge by time zones, and I'll catch you in the next video.